Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Great.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, Rabbi.
Perfect. Okay, we're here today to discuss Parshas B'Shalach, and the title for today's class is To Complain or to Listen, with a question mark. To complain or to listen. This month, which is the month of Shvat, is sponsored by Rabbi Aaron and Becky Asaraf for the merit of a Refu'ah Sh'leima for Baruch Yehoshua Yisrael ben Simcha. We wish him a Refu'ah Sh'leima. He's a wonderful person, close friend of the yeshiva. And of course, we wish that for all Kol Yisrael, including the next list, which is dedicated for Refu'ah Sh'leima this week, for Perel Sasha bas Meril Rivka, Shlomo ben Baila, and Moshe ben Simcha. In addition, this week's class is dedicated to the memory of Yehoshua ben Tzvi Nechemia. May his neshama have an aliya. So, one of the things that I think we need to pay a little closer attention is to what's happening in the world regarding Israel and Iran. And by that, I think what I'm referencing is the fact that we need to ask ourselves how we got to be in this miraculous situation of us as a Jewish people being able to fend off literally our mortal enemies, and now all the disruption that that's caused to the country of Iran, specifically the regime of Iran. We need to ask ourselves, what does Hashem want? What does Hashem want from us now? And I think that there's a very relevant part of our Parsha, which is an epic Parsha, in that it discusses the crossing of the Red Sea, the miracles that happen at the Red Sea, and all that follows afterwards, which includes the major singing by Moshe and the Jewish people in recognition of the incredible wonders that they experienced. And there's even a few sentences describing that the prophetess Miriam, who's the sister of Aaron, took the drum in hand, and all the women went after and danced and played music. And Miriam also sang for them to give song to Hashem, because he is surely elevated and exalted. A horse and his rider and the horse and its rider were cast into the sea. Now, the sentences that immediately follow this incredible description of this gargantuan event begins as follows. Vayasa Moshe es Yisrael miyam suf. Moshe caused the Jewish people to travel from the Sea of Reeds, the Yam Suf. And that means specifically, and by the way, this is chapter 15, sentence 22, that means specifically that he had to forcibly move the Jewish people away from the Sea of Reeds. And they went out to the desert shore, that's the name of it. They walked 3 days in the desert and they did not find water. So that's very interesting, one sentence in the Torah. Moshe forcibly moves them away from the Sea of Reeds. They walk through the desert. They walk for 3 days and they're not able to find water. Then it says they came to a place called Mara, which means bitter. And they were not able to drink from the waters that were in Mara because the waters were bitter. And in fact, that's why it's called Mara, which means bitter. And the people complained to Moshe saying, what should we drink? What do we drink? So Moshe called out to Hashem. Hashem pointed out, Hashem showed Moshe either a tree or wood. Moshe took from that tree or took that wood, threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. And then the Torah says, the end of that sentence, Hashem put for him, the Jewish people, a statute and a law, and there Hashem tested him, meaning Hashem tested the nation. And then one final sentence, Moshe says, on behalf of Hashem, if you listen to the voice of Hashem your God, and that which is straight in his eyes you will do, and you give ear, right? You heed his commandments, and you guard all of his statutes, then all the illnesses, all the machala today is euphemistically referring to cancer. All the machala that I put in Egypt, I will not put upon you, because I am Hashem, your Rofei, your doctor. And that's the conclusion of that paragraph. So there's several points I would like to discuss on this paragraph. Just first of all, to point out how the Jewish people go from this incredible revelation of miraculous occurrences to immediately complaining when they couldn't find water. That's just always fascinating to witness such a downgrade, such a precipitous downgrade in their experience as followers of Hashem. Number one. Number two, the Torah is very clear that Moshe has to force them to travel. Why is Moshe needing to force them to travel? So says Rashi that the reason is because at the Red Sea, the Egyptians bedecked their horses with crowns of jewelry. And in fact, their army went into battle with major jewelry and ornaments, gold and silver, etc. And they were finding all of this wealth washing up to shore or in the ocean. And they were there, the Jewish people were there, everybody could picture it now, sifting through everything and finding major, major wealth. So much wealth, in fact, that the rabbis tell us that there was more money, more wealth that the Jewish people took from the Sea of Reeds than they took when they left Egypt, and they asked all their friends and neighbors to give them things. And over there, the rabbi said that the Egyptians would say, hey, don't only take this one also. But more than they collected from Egypt itself, which the Torah itself describes as kind of cleaning out, wiping out the money of Egypt, the Jewish people took more than that at the Sea of Reeds. So therefore, the Torah is telling us that Moshe forcibly moved them away from the Sea of Reeds because they were there gathering money. So the obvious question is, why not let them gather the money? Clearly, it's a miracle from Hashem that these things are available to them. One would have imagined that Egypt would not necessarily take all that tremendous wealth into battle. One would have imagined that even if Egypt did and it falls into the ocean, that then it's lost unless you can manage a very deep sea diving expedition. The fact that all of this is available for them to be taken is clearly a miracle. So why is Moshe forcibly moving them away? Why not let them gather? Does it really matter if they stay a whole day or two or whatever it is to gather everything that is there? So that's another question. So in addition to that, the Torah tells us that the people complained to Moshe when they came to the next place, saying, what should we drink? Now, the fact that they complained and they didn't simply say, what should we drink, is itself something very surprising. So Rashi actually tells us that in the next sentence, when it says that Hashem tested the Jewish people, that itself was the test. What's the test? The test is, are the people going to complain and talk in a callous or argumentative manner and say, hey, what are we going to drink? Or are they going to ask appropriately and say, hey, we're thirsty. Could you please, ask for us for mercy that we should have water to drink? But instead, they became complainers. That's the test. So that's a very interesting test. Here we have a nation that's been in exile for hundreds of years in slavery, and they suffered horrible, horrible things at the hands of the Egyptian taskmasters, everything from backbreaking labor to their children being used for blood in Pharaoh's bath and as mortar in the walls of the structures that they were building. And now, as soon as they leave Egypt and they witness one of the most, if not the most incredible set of miracles of all time, let's test and see if they're going to become complainers. What is that all about? And also, and we can ask this as a third question, the very last sentence is Hashem, through Moshe, telling them, listen, if you listen to me and you do what is straight in my eyes and you guard all of my statutes, then all the sicknesses that I put on Egypt, I will not put upon you because I am Hashem, your doctor. I would have thought, number one, that a sentence like that could have been uttered to them before they left Egypt. Look, guys, I'm going to take you out. Because there were conversations, right? They had to do the Paschal Lamb. They were told many things in Egypt. at one point before they leave, Moshe could say to them this very sentence. I'm just telling you guys, I'm taking you out, but you better understand that you need to heed all of the commandments and do everything that's straight in my eyes in order for you to not experience the suffering that is being visited upon the Egyptians. Why is the time to tell this to the Jewish people after they travel for 3 days and they can't find water and they become complainers? That's one question on this sentence. Question number two on this sentence: we don't generally think of the plagues that were visited upon the Egyptian as a machala, which is an illness. It's like a sickness. And we generally describe them as the plagues. Now, of course, the plagues are sickening things, but it didn't really make them sick. It was more about scaring them and giving them suffering and pain, as in not having water because the water was blood, or the boils, very painful, or the frogs and the noise, and the locusts, all of those things we understand are scary and painful, but we generally would not characterize it as a machala, which is an illness, and that therefore what is really needed is a rofei, a doctor. So why is this the way that everything is now being characterized that happened to Egypt as an illness? And Hashem is saying, if you listen to everything, then that sickness I will not put upon you, rather than those plagues and those points of suffering I will not visit upon you. And what does it mean that Hashem is a doctor? And that really leads us to the final point, and Rishonim do talk about this question. If what Hashem is saying is all the bad things that happen to Egypt I will not put upon you as long as you listen, then they don't need a doctor. Right? The point is that because I am Hashem and I'm interested in what's good for you, I'm telling you I don't want to punish you. And in order for you to not get punished, don't do like other people and instead listen to all the commandments that I'm telling you so that you don't have to get suffering. Not because Hashem is a doctor. A doctor is what's needed for a person that's ill, not a person that's not ill. So why does the Torah explain that Hashem is saying, if you listen to everything, you won't get visited the terrible punishments of Egypt, and you should do what I'm saying because I'm Hashem, your doctor, rather than I'm Hashem who loves you and cares about you and I don't want to hurt you. So what's this idea of Hashem as the doctor? So what I'd like to do is begin with a very interesting grammatical point that Rashi tells us about the word complaining. And without getting too technical, Rashi says that really the word to complain, that the way the Torah says it, which in Hebrew is the word vayilonu, doesn't mean that they complained. It really means that they became complaining. That's what Rashi says. It does not mean to complain, and he complained like we would say in English. Rather, it means they became complainers. And he learns that from the construct of the word in Hebrew. So what does that mean? What does it mean for a person to become a complainer rather than to simply complain? And what's the purpose of this test of will they ask nicely for water versus will they be complaining about water at this particular juncture of their journey? So what I'd like to do is suggest the following concept, and with this we'll try to answer most of our questions. There is a tendency among human beings to become accustomed to whatever are their particular comforts or pleasures. And when a person is so accustomed, anytime they don't have that pleasure or that comfort, they become extremely disgruntled and uncomfortable. So whether that's air conditioning in South Florida, not today because unbelievably it's in the 50s, or it's the kind of food that we eat, or whatever is our beauty sleep. For most people, when we achieve a certain baseline and then we're out of our comfort zone, we don't simply adjust. We first become unhappy. And often we will then complain. That's the pattern of human beings. Now, that's true even of very luxurious things, right? A person has a certain kind of bedding. A person has a certain kind of clothing. A person has a certain kind of car. The minute that they don't have that upper level that now they've been blessed to be able to experience and have in their life, now it's a problem instead of, okay, so I don't have this luxurious item. I'm good with less than that. So, what is it about the human condition, as Ohad pointed out, habituation, which, by the way, you should look at the flyer that Ohad did today to listener to complain. It's really a beautiful depiction that Ohad put on the flyer, right? What is it about the human condition that we become habituated and then we actually become disgruntled if we don't have even the most luxurious things? And the answer, I believe, is very simple. And it's what the Torah is telling us here. And I think it is so fundamental for what we need to do as October 8th Jews. Instead of asking, how can I have the comfort that I'm used to? And instead of becoming unhappy as long as I don't have what I'm used to, even if it's a luxury item, we need to be asking, how did I benefit or merit having that blessing? And what is the reason that now I'm being given a situation where I don't have that? And what do I need to learn because of that? To what do I need to pay attention? To what do I need to do differently in my life? And that's a very hard thing to do because since we become acclimated and habituated to our comforts, we then think that, we can't be comfortable without it. And we're not going to adjust. And so our life is not okay. And now we suddenly can't handle the responsibilities of our everyday existence because we don't have the car that we're used to drive or the food that we're used to eat, right? All of that becomes a problem for me to go about my life. So the first thing is that we have to understand that no, we can become acclimated to something less. That's okay. Whether it's less amount of food or the less type of food or anything else of our clothing, of anything in our lives, we can become acclimated. It's no problem. Human beings become acclimated. How many more examples do we need as human beings to see how Jews can become acclimated? We lived in concentration camps in freezing weather. I have a friend, Rabbi Yaakov Gershon Simlist from Pennsylvania, who before that from Denver and before that from Miami. He was telling me recently that when he was younger and it suddenly turned very cold outside, he would take off his jacket and his shirt and he would go outside to experience just a little bit of what the Jews in the concentration camps had to experience for years, right? Just to get a little taste of it. And we don't do that. And instead, what we do is we allow ourselves to become unhappy and to become complainers. That is an attitude that we allow to happen to ourselves, right? So instead of regulating ourselves and adjusting and calibrating to, okay, this is a little bit uncomfortable, but it's okay. And now I will adjust. We just completely become negative. We just become negative. So yesterday, I'm on a plane, and thank God I was able to get out of the north and come back to Miami. And the flight was on time, and it was perfect, and everything was great. Even though a lot of people are having travel problems nowadays, and now this week. We get to the gate, but the gate is stuck. The door won't open. And so the pilot gets on and gives us 5 updates. The first update is, okay, the gate's not working. Somebody has to come fix it. The second update is actually there was a miscommunication. Somebody just needs to open it and swipe it electronically. The third update is they're on their way. And it seems like it's a combination of a mechanical thing and somebody else coming to fix it. The fourth thing is, this is literally in like a half an hour. The fourth thing is, actually, we're going to need to back out of this gate after everybody took their stuff down. We need to put it back up. You need to get back in your seat, back out of this gate and find a different gate. The fifth update is actually the whole thing is a mistake. It's being opened right now. It was just insane, but it was fascinating to watch how unhappy people were, but then they adjusted. Okay, this is travel nowadays. Even though there was literally 5 changes in the span of a half an hour, 45 minutes, we adjust. But instead of telling ourselves we can adjust to the new reality, we become very unhappy and negative to the point that we can't adjust to the new reality. But then even worse, we demand our comforts from other people and we become demanding people. So therefore, the Jews don't only say, oh, we're thirsty and we can't handle this. They say, what are we going to drink? They become complainers. And the reason that this test happens at this particular juncture is for exactly the paradigm of human development that we're discussing. In order for us as human beings to earn more security, more money, more luxury, more benefits, we have to demonstrate that we don't become acclimated to them to the point that we will then become complainers if we don't have them. Because otherwise, Hashem cannot take us on a journey of ever greater and ever better. Because if we don't learn that a benefit and a luxury and a pleasure is something to appreciate and something to thoroughly thank Hashem for, and then when we don't have it, to ask ourselves, okay, how did we go off, or what do we need to do differently, or how do we get back on that path? Who do I need to become in the process? And instead we say, Hashem, how could you not provide this for me? Then Hashem cannot take us on this infinite journey through the desert, to the Torah, and to the land of Israel, and ultimately the Beis Hamikdash. Because unless we are going to proactively become the human beings that are capable of receiving more good and not becoming complainers, there's no point. That is not the self-development. That is not becoming the leaders that the world needs us to become. So therefore, Hashem says, very simple, I'm going to give them a tremendous amount of wealth when they leave Egypt. I'm going to give them even more wealth at the Yam Suf, at the Red Sea. Let's see if they can handle that. What happens at the Red Sea? Instead of saying, Moshe, this is unbelievable. We just experienced all these miracles. We have all this wealth. Now we're getting even more wealth. This is just the most incredible thing. You know, how good is Hashem to us? They don't want to leave. They want to get every last thing. Moshe needs to forcibly say, listen, guys, it's time to move on. Because once a person gets used to money and they get used to wealth, they just want more. And the reason that they want more is because they never, ever want to have to face the question again of, will I have enough? Will I have enough not only for my needs, but for every luxury and pleasure imaginable? And the more I have, then the more I can just get more pleasure, more luxury. Says Moshe, no, that's not the purpose of living. That's not the purpose of what Hashem is doing with us. The point is, great, you have money. What are you going to do with it? And who are you going to become in the process? It's time to now travel and eventually to receive the Torah. And so the people go. But in the same sentence that Moshe forces them or causes them to move, they go out to the desert and they travel for 3 days and they can't find water. It doesn't say, and they don't have water, they can't find water. They were expecting water. They were assuming, okay, we went through the hardship. Now everything is going to be smooth sailing and easy street. I can't tell you how many times I experienced this with other people in their lives. They say, look, I suffered enough. I thought things were going to be better now. I thought it was going to get easier now. Why is it still difficult? I don't understand. And they become negative and complaining. Instead of saying, to what do I need to listen? What is the lesson I'm supposed to now understand? How am I supposed to now grow? And to that, Hashem says, tell them, if you listen to the voice of Hashem, your God, and that which is straight in his eyes you will do, and you really listen, you really heed, it doesn't just say to do the mitzvahs, it says "V'hazamta l'mitzvosav," that you really listen to his commandments, and you guard all of the statutes, then all of the illnesses that I put in Egypt I will not put upon you, because I am Hashem, your doctor. And that is an incredibly revealing statement. So the first thing is, Hashem is saying right now, right at the beginning of this journey, you need to understand that you need to make a choice. Are you going to allow yourself to become acclimated to the point where if you don't have it, you will just become a complainer? Or are you going to become a listener, a learner, of what is life experience and what is God's wisdom that is meant to guide me in this life experience. And how am I supposed to grow? Because I am a learner, or are you going to be a complainer? That's your test. That is what it means. And there Hashem tested him, because that's a test for life. And in a similar fashion, the man, which is a tremendous pleasure, the manna from heaven, is also a test for life. That's also what the Torah refers to as a test. With as great a pleasure as it is, it's also a test. Is it going to fall close to you? Is it going to fall far from you? Are you going to be able to eat, see what you eat? You're not going to be able to see what you eat. There's many things. I don't want to go into it now, but all of that is a test that even when you have good things, it can become a major test. We have great families, but unfortunately somebody is ill. We have great families, but unfortunately a relationship is not working out as well as it should. Well, are we going to focus on that? Or are we going to focus on the fact that we have great families? And now what do I need to learn? What's my internal process of growth? How do I need to handle it better? What do I need to pay attention to in the commandments and the wisdom that Hashem gave to me? That's my particular lesson at this particular moment about how I need to develop. That's the test. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two, and this is so important for us as a Jewish nation, we have to understand that the world really is in a process of decay and illness. That's the truth. That is the natural progression of the world. Now, it's exacerbated today. You want to talk about global warming, even though it's freezing up north. You want to talk about all the social, incredible, misguided ideologies that we're experiencing, everything happening in this country with immigrant, enforcement, all of those immigration enforcement, all of these things. There's so many ideologies that we can look around at the world and say, what is wrong with the world? So much wealth, so much opportunity, so much good in the world, and people just seem to get somehow crazier and crazier, right? That's because there is a natural progression of illness based on the sins of mankind. It started with eating from the tree, it continued with generations of idolatry, and I'm not here to repeat all of human history, but the fact is that in major, major ways, human beings have made very bad choices. And because of that, even the greatest empires achieve tremendous success, and then they implode because the human beings can't handle the good in a way that is healthy, in a way that is evolutionary as human beings rather than just as technology and a society that has gained security. That's a major momentum in creation. There's only one solution to that, and it's called listening to the voice of God and the wisdom of the Torah, which allows for human beings to, instead of becoming selfish, narcissistic, gluttonous creatures of habit, we become learners, people of dignity, people who can proactively think and make choices that are good. That's the only solution. And the Jewish people are the only ones that are given the technology of how to heal the world. And that's why everything that happens to Egypt, it's not only a plague, it's not only to send them a lesson, hey, God is here, God is real, God is true. It's, guys, you're just going to get yourself sick and sicker and ultimately implode. That's what's going to happen to all the decadent societies that ever came to be. So therefore, Hashem was sending these plagues as a signal of the major decay that was already rotting in Egypt. That's the machala that Hashem put in Egypt, because that's the natural progression of illness. And Hashem was showing, demonstrating openly that these were things that they deserved, because that's really the internal rot of a decadent society. That's really what the plagues signify. And so therefore it's called a machala. And there's only one solution to become a healthier human being. And only Hashem, the doctor, can teach us how to become a healthier human being. So we know that it's true. We become habituated, we become acclimated to our luxuries, not to mention our basic comforts, and we become complainers. That's unhealthy. As a human being, that's psychologically and ultimately physically unhealthy. We overeat, we make ourselves sick, right? We have too much time off, we don't exercise, and we don't work, we don't accomplish. All these things, that's the tendency of human beings. And the only solution is to pay tremendous attention to what is it that Hashem is teaching us? What do we need to listen to? And that's a message that the Jewish people need to bring to the world. Now, we got into an unbelievable ability in the last century to have Eretz Yisrael as a place where we can live, as a place where we can thrive, as a place where we can build. Are we doing everything with that opportunity that we can be? Definitely not. Just like in America. Have we done everything as Jewish communities with all the opportunities and freedoms that we've been given in this country and become everything that we can become, especially in regards to this message, not to become luxury seeking, not to become acclimated to the point of complaining if we don't have. And there's tons of examples. I'm not going to go into all of them now, but you all know what I'm talking about. To being too focused on money, to being too focused on keeping up with the Joneses, to expecting too much from our Jewish organizations and institutions, and instead of taking personal responsibilities. All of these things we have not done nearly enough. But let's just look at the last 2 years. We experienced this horror of October 7th, and there has been so much that has come to the surface of anti-Semitism in the world. And the Jewish people have responded unbelievably, resiliently, brilliantly, strategically, and accomplished the beating back of their mortal enemies. Are we looking to become complacent again? Or are we looking to pay more attention to what Hashem is telling us? So if we just ask ourselves the very simple question, are we becoming better people today, here in 2026, than we were willing to become on October 8th of 2023 or not? That's the very, very simple question. Are we improving, becoming better listeners and learners, or are we seeking to go back to October 6th, 2023, where we didn't have all this anxiety about where we should live as Jews and where is it in fact going to be safe and how real is this anti-Semitism threat across the globe? That is the question. That's what this pasuk is saying. Listen, if you listen carefully, Shema Tishmad, like really pay attention, emphasizing the word listening to the voice of Hashem your God, and that which is straight in his eyes you will do. That should answer all of our moral dilemmas right there. Is this what Hashem would actually want us to do? Just ask yourselves that question. Are we really listening deeply to everything that the commandments are asking from us? We put on tefillin. Do we really think about what happened in Egypt when we put on tefillin? Are we paying attention? When we say Shema, do we really understand what it means to give up our life to serve Hashem and to proclaim his oneness? Is that something that we're espousing on a regular basis? And if the answer is no, we have to realize that it's not that we're going to get punished. It's that we're going to make ourselves sicker. And only the doctor Hashem can save us. It's not even a question of punishment, but we're going to become complaining, negative people that need all of the mood regulators that the science has made available, right? All the antidepressants. We're going to need Ozempic so that we don't kill ourselves with overeating. We're going to need these things that are not going to help us because we're just going to continue to get unhealthier, become more complaining, and that's going to affect our relationships and our families and everything else. The only solution is to learn that life is not about being comfortable and about having security. Life is about becoming a more edified, dignified human being and learning all of the brilliant wisdom of the Torah that will allow us to become people who really listen, learn, develop, and grow rather than become people that are complaining and negative. And that's the very simple test. Do we get so addicted to our jobs that we can't leave our desk so that we don't attend to our families? That's what it means that Moshe caused the Jewish people to move. And when we move, and then we hope that we're going to have water, and then we don't get water, or hope we're going to make a better living, we don't live it. Do we become complainers and negative? Or do we instead say, okay, what am I supposed to learn How am I supposed to improve? And one of the very real time effects of being October 8th Jews is that a lot more people have started becoming more engaged in Jewish life and in hopefully Torah learning and other aspects of true Judaism. But if the hope is that we can again feel more secure and then we can stop pushing our growth and our learning, then we're going to become complainers and we will become sicker and there will be more devastation in the world. And so critically important is for us to understand that the whole world actually, for its health, depends on us Jewish people becoming listeners and learners and show the world what it means to be a nation that is steadfast in its mission, a nation that is really unified, a nation that is really resilient, a nation that really cares about one another, a nation that can self develop and grow, a nation that can roll up their sleeves and do the work that needs to be done, whether it's killing evil people or organizing as a nation politically so that we take care of each other as a society. Are we going to do those things? Or are we going to, God forbid, experience the illnesses that already exist in the world because of the wrath of the tendency of human beings to decay and to not self develop and grow, but instead to become sicker and sicker? So, God willing, we take this message to heart and we really understand that here in the year 2026, let's make the next 10 months until October 7th, 2026, months where we can really say we're still learning from October 6th. We're still growing from the wisdom of the Torah. And we are doing much better and not becoming spoiled based on all the wealth and blessings that we have, but instead we're becoming a nation of people that appreciates and are looking to become better listeners, better learners, and ultimately better people so that we can serve each other better and this world at large with God's help, fulfill our mission as a Jewish nation. Before we take any questions or comments, I do want to mention that my father is giving a class today, so I'd love everybody to zoom over to that. Any questions or comments from anyone?
Rabbi,
Yes, Mordechai.
I know it's from the beginning of this year, and I know there was a promise that had to be fulfilled to Avram Avinu, that Refu'ah Gadol. But
Yes.
I'm just wondering what the purpose of the booty from, Egypt was. I mean, other than that promise, so 40 years goes by and they don't, I don't believe they had any transactions. Any needs were taken care of by, demonstrably by Kodesh Baruch Hu. So it is what it is, or there's something more that I'm missing.
You're asking like, what's the point of all the wealth? Is that the basic question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
hmm Yeah, no, it's a very good question. It seems that one of the points of the wealth was that they should feel somewhat restored in terms of their dignity, like a slave that is given either reparations or appreciation from its master at the end of, tremendously harsh labor, especially where there was so much pain inflicted and abuse, etc. It's a restoration of dignity. It seems that that's part of the major reason. Separate from that is the fact that as the people that are meant to take the responsibility of the success of the world on their shoulders, they should also be given the tremendous ability to do in the world what needs to get done. And for people who really deal with their wealth responsibly, the focus should always be what is the most good that I can do with the wealth that God gave me.
Uh, I thank you. I also think maybe there was a hint when I was listening when you said that we get used to our creature comforts, our air conditioning, our this or that. So there was a point where they were used to their valuables. So you want to make them like restore them to the point of maybe that's something
Mm,
also.
interesting. Yeah, maybe that's something that, yeah, that's interesting point. I'll have to think about that one. I appreciate it.
So Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Ohad, thank you for posting my father's Zoom link. Ohad, maybe you could also post it on our Wednesday class WhatsApp. That would be great. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So I hope that we all learn to listen better to what's happening in our lives, and myself included. With that in mind, I just want to thank everyone for giving us the opportunity to get together Wednesdays and Fridays for a lot of tremendous learning together. I'm always happy to hear everybody's comments or questions, and hopefully we continue to grow together. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Rabbi.
Thank you all. Thank you
Bye.
all. Thank you. Bye.